In this episode of the show, I want to talk to you about master bus compression. That's coming up on Home Music Studio One. All right. Hey guys, Dave Maxey here. Welcome back to the show. This is the place where you can learn to produce professional quality home music studio recordings, and you can do that even on a limited budget. Let's just go ahead and jump on into this episode. I want to show you how I am using compression on my master bus. Now, this is a track here. It's actually a local musician here in the Lansing area, in the center area of Michigan here where I'm at in the States. And her name is Cece Bordeo, and the track is called Run to the Father. If you're interested, do a little Googling on that. So these are the tracks that I've been given, and I'm just about to the final stages of this mix and about ready to kind of go into the mastering process. And so one of the things that I really like to do on my master fader is to use a little bit of compression to really help glue everything together in the final process of the mix. Now, keep in mind, I'm not trying to pre-master this. This is very key. What I'm after is to just limit the dynamic range of the entire track as a whole now at this stage, and I'm doing that on my master fader. I'm going to show you a couple of options that we're going to do that. And really what I'm trying to do is just limit the difference between the high peaks versus the lower peaks, kind of crunch it down just a little bit, but I want this to be very smooth, very transparent, all right? And we definitely want to make sure that we're adding to this track, that we're not taking away from this track by any stretch of the imagination. We don't want to over-bake it, all right? In other words, it's kind of an industry term that we would say we don't want to over-compress it, right? We want to be very, very careful. So I'm going to show you how I use master bus compression, but first, let me let you hear the finished product that we have on this track right here. Like I said, I'm pretty well complete, maybe a few more tweaks, but I'm pretty happy with what I've got so far. Let's take a listen, and then I'll show you what we've got going on my master bus. Okay, it gives you a good idea of what's going on there. So the first thing that I'm doing here is I'm using one of the Waves plugins here, the SSL comp from the stereo compressor from Waves here. Now this is designed to emulate one of the SSL consoles. I love it. It was something that I actually got on a deal here. I think it was like a $39 special. I'm on their list. If you're not, make sure to sign up for the Waves list there. I pick up these guys all the time. And, I really... I love that this adds a little bit of character to it. So I'm going to show you what this guy is doing, but I'm also going to show you a free option as well. And it's not so much important as the exact plugin you're using as much as it is the mindset that you need to get a hold of. So really the first thing that I'm dealing with when I'm talking about master bus compression is I want a relatively high threshold. In other words, the point at which compression kicks in, I'm not grabbing everything in the track. I'm just kind of grabbing the top end of the track and just holding it back a little bit. Now, the way this compressor works, I've played with it a little bit. I'm actually using a 4-to-1 ratio. And this is a really transparent compressor. And so with a higher threshold, 4-to-1 on the ratio isn't really as much as what you might think. I'm just using the auto release here. On the attack, I've got the attack nice and long, all right? I've got a 30 millisecond attack. This is key to doing master bus compression. You don't want really fast attack. If you got a really fast attack, you can actually introduce more of a pumping sound into your project, and that's not going to be very transparent at all. So that's very key there. I'm also doing a little bit of a makeup gain, so I'm not really increasing my volume a huge amount. I'm doing 3 dB makeup gain, but you'll see right here that we're getting really close to the same amount of gain reduction, so I'm kind of putting that back. And then as far as the, some of the other settings here, they're not quite as important. Those I've just left on the default here, this rate here. I'm not going to go into that for the sake of this tutorial. So let's do a little bit of A/B. And one of the things that I did was to set this guy as I went to the most dynamic portion of my track. And I just simply lowered the threshold with these settings until I saw somewhere around 3, definitely under 4 dB of gain reduction at the loudest point, which might seem like a lot, but if you get your compressor nice and transparent, this really does add. It gives it that extra glue to kind of hold things together. Let's listen. So you hear how we're just getting that little bit of a boost of increase. Things get just a little bit tighter. And, we're getting a touch volume increase because we've got this makeup gain in here, but things are a little bit tighter together. That allows us to eventually make this track appropriately loud where we want it because we're starting to lessen that dynamic range. Now, I'm not doing all of the work with one compressor. I'm not just slamming it. That's very, very key. So I highly encourage some type of master bus compression. Don't be afraid to do that. Now, if you don't have the SSL plugin or something that like that, let me show you another plugin that will work really good. Now, this is from the TDR. I don't know how you say that, but I think it's Kotlin. Have no idea. All right, it's Tokyo Dawn Labs. Google it. I know you guys have told me how to pronounce that in the comments before, but I have absolutely no idea. All I know is this is a free plugin and it works really, really good for this this function as well. So you'll see here, I've also got a 30 millisecond attack. You can see my attack and release controls. I'm doing roughly the same on the makeup gain. And the other thing I've done is on this low end frequency, I've lowered this down just a little bit because I actually want this to compress all of the mix within, with even the low end. And I want to make sure that I'm not just ignoring the bottom end. And that's what this frequency setting is. If I move this up, it would more or less not focus much on that low end. So I got that down to about 34. Let's do a little bit of A/B testing with this. And in order to get the results I was after, I did the same thing, looking for just a little more than 3D of gain reduction. So with these settings, you'll see I'm still using a 4-to-1 ratio. I simply lowered my threshold until I got that, that nice sweet spot there around that 3, a little bit more, but under 4 dB of gain reduction. My release time, I'm trying to make that slow enough to where I'm following the tempo of the music. That's what gives you a nice transparent when it comes to release time of really any compressor. So let's listen to this guy here. We'll do some A/B. Okay, so definitely hear the difference there, but this is not like knock you over difference. This is subtle. And remember, I've said this many times that really the collective of all the decisions that you and I make from start to finish in our mix is what really gives us the end product, all right? So we're not trying to be just amazingly transparent with just one, or amazingly night and day difference, I should say, with just one plugin. We are trying to be relatively transparent. We want to add just that little something, knowing that all of those little somethings equal one nice something in the end. But you definitely want to be using master bus compression. I will typically do this at the very beginning of my chain, so of my master bus chain. And this is the way Reaper works, is from the top down. So this would be the first plugin that would be into effect. Now, what you're also hearing on here is I do have a little limiter, but all I'm doing here is just making sure I'm not clipping. So I'm not really doing anything with this limiter on my master bus. But that's very common that I'll do as well, just to make sure I don't have any clipping there. This track I did, I'm pumping it a little bit louder than some of the projects I've done in the past, just trying to, get a little more juice out of this. They're looking more from, definitely a little bit louder, more industry volume. So I would normally maybe peak out a track at -6. I'm pushing it a little bit, giving it a little bit more breathing room in this particular project before I go to mastering. I'll probably have to pull that level down, but I'm pretty happy with what I've got so far. Definitely in your own mixes, guys, make sure you're using some type of very transparent master bus compression. It definitely will make a difference, making your mix feel a little bit more glued together. If you got questions, definitely let me know. And then lastly, if you haven't downloaded your free ebook yet, I want to invite you to go ahead and click on the link in this video or the link below as well. If you're watching this on mobile, you can click on the little eye icon in the upper right-hand side of your screen, and you can just drop your email into that form there once you go to that page, and I'll send my free ebook out to you entitled Understanding Compression in the Home Music Studio. That'll also sign you up for my free affordable home recording tips and newsletter. There's more than 19,000 of us right now on that list, so I'd love to have you join that online community as well. And again, if you got more questions, guys, let me know. Make sure to share this video if you know someone else that can be helped by it. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to click subscribe. Until next time, this is Dave Maxey with Home Music Studio One.